Hi, I'm Zia Anderson.
And I'm Christian Bladt.
We got to go check out Avengers Damage Control at the Void, and
it's an immersive VR experience. It was really cool. Somebody was a little bit nervous about it, weren't you?
I was nervous. Christian had to hold my hands.
Ew, I had to hold hands with a girl, but I went anyway.
Cooties.
And look, I had never done any of these sort of things before, and I was a little bit nervous. And when you first have the headset on and you're walking around, it's a little disorienting. But it's so cool because you look around, and we don't want to give too much away, but you see all these settings from the Marvel Universe, the characters that are in it, and you're like, oh, hey, look who's over there! Character's name I'm not going to say because it's a spoiler. And they're talking to you, and it's so much fun, and you get to do weird things. Like, remember, we walked downstairs?
But we weren't walking down.
We didn't walk downstairs at all.
It was so crazy. I was like, wait, we're not going down, but it feels like we're going down. I don't know. It was super fun. It's like a tiny bit disorienting in the beginning, but once you get into it, you're like, oh, this is awesome. Plus, you get to wear a cool suit that Shuri made.
Yeah, it's basically like a Black Panther suit. It's kind of like a hybrid Stark Wakanda suit.
So
and
cool.
It's really cool, and you get to kind of see yourself up on the screen. You can do blasters and all this stuff. You can put up a shield, although I honestly never figured it out.
Yeah,
but
Christian got a D.
Yeah. You got a B.
I got a B.
Yeah, so you weren't perfect. You were just better than me, which isn't saying much. But anyway, we were also lucky enough to get to talk to some of the creative minds behind it.
So why don't we take a look at some of that footage?
Hi, I'm Christian Bladt.
And I'm Zia Anderson.
We're here for Avengers Damage Control, and this is Marvel TV Weekly.
A powerful threat has resurfaced. I sense that this force has been waiting, rebuilding its strength in secret until now.
Are you guys the new recruits?
You fail to see the big picture.
Hi, Dr. Strange sent us. We're your backup.
That wizard glow circled right into the middle of our date.
Scott, popcorn on the couch and reruns of Golden Girls is not a date. Stop calling it a date. Heads up, everybody. More incoming!
Make good choices!
I guess the first question is, when does the idea for any kind of Marvel VR experience first come up? How long has something like this been gestating?
It came up now is because we were given this opportunity to do it on this platform with ILMxLAB, right? It gives us the opportunity to bring the characters to life in a way like we couldn't before. So given that opportunity, let's take advantage of it. And the development process on this was long. We've been working on this for about 2 years now. So it's been in the pipeline for a while, but now it's getting to come out. So it's always been a part of the conversation. It was just what's the right time to do it.
Oh, I was just going to add, I've been wanting to see something like this from Marvel for years in VR, right? There's been marketing-based experiences, but this was a great opportunity to really dive in deep and do something to extend, the MCU and make something really special in VR. So,
in terms of the timing, was there the idea of like, okay, we have to get way past Endgame because we don't want any can we use this character, that character? Was there any of that went into it? Is the timing, 6 months after Endgame intentional, or just is that how it worked out?
It's like it has to come out on this. This is no. It's more about how does it live on its own? How does it, take the things that people want to experience? We've never done this before. This is a totally new form of storytelling for us. So, just that opportunity alone is huge, and figuring out the best way to tell that story and for when that comes out, it just happens to come out now.
Was there a wish list of characters you wanted, or were you given here's who we're able to use? You right. So your wish list was everyone. As it actually comes to putting it together, did it turn into actor availability, that sort of thing?
Yeah, it's like anything else, right? You start with a whiteboard and a marker and a bunch of people sitting around a table, and you're like, okay, well, what if we did this? And what if this guy was there? Okay, then pivot. And then you actually start making the thing and you go, well, that's not working. Just like on a film or anything else, stuff ends up on the cutting room floor. There's tons of stuff here that, and lines from the actors that didn't make the cut. And it's a development process like anything else. It's a new one. But yeah, we started with a blue sky of what can we do and who can we put in here. And part of that was looking at, you bring back a character like Ultron. It's got to be new. It's got to be different. We wanted to bring that to life for people and give them the opportunity to experience that. But it was definitely like the sky was the limit, and what could we do? Because, when you think about, it comes after the events of Avengers Endgame. There's definitely something in people's heads of, I've seen that, right? I've seen the end of that movie. How do we help people experience that? How do we give them the chance to assemble alongside the Avengers? So when you're thinking about how many characters we could put in there, we'd put more in if we could, right? We'd put everybody in there, but it also becomes a balancing act of how do you tell that story, and how do you do it in a way that you're not just putting them in there for putting them in their sake, right?
I mean, I think one of the other things that was really fun about it was it is such an open canvas where there's so many characters that are available in the story, and when you're working in VR, you have to think about what is actually like going to work for that particular story and in the medium that you're in. So I think when we're really exploring in that kind of blue sky mode, it was about the characters that would fit the kind of story that we could tell well. And so that was part of the challenge, but it's such a great challenge to have is, there's so much there, but who works well together? How can we tell a coherent story that fits in that framework with the kind of tools and the technology and the canvas that we have to tell it? So we, it's excited that we got as many, but we would always want as many as we could.
And from my understanding as I was going through the experience was that everyone was the actual actors from the films. And if it wasn't, you did a great job approximating it. Do you care to respond to that one way or the other, or do you want to leave it up to some of the mystery of the experience?
Let's let people. Yeah, we hope people go through the experience and feel what it's like to be a part of the MCU, right? So we had a lot of amazing talent involved in the project, and we're glad that people get the chance finally to actually be in there with them. They get to say I was there on October 18th and teamed up with the Avengers. So that's the fun part for us.
I'm going to let Z and Zach come over, and they're going to talk a little bit about the gameplay. But my last question about it, I was really bad in there. She was a B, he was an A, I was a D. So if we had all been really good, would the experience have been much different, a little different, or is it essentially the same even if you're terrible like I am?
There's definitely, and there's a few other people that could answer that question probably a little bit better. But it's all. The whole thing is again, it's a new form of storytelling. So when you're thinking about, okay, when does this character show up? What are they saying? And what am I doing? And how does that timing play out, right? With a movie, you build up the joke, you build up the moment for people to have the reaction you hope that they have and feel the thing that they want to feel and be a part of that. So for this, it's how do you tune the battle? How do you tune the reactions? How do you tune when the enemies come? How many there are? How many people are in the experience? If it's just you in the experience, it's a lot different than if you're in there with 4 people, right? Because you're not having the same, you're not bumping into each other and talking, and you're much more focused, and so all that's tuned to give you the best experience, right? If you go through by yourself, Doctor Strange will say it's on you. You know what I mean? If you go through with 4 people, it's up to you 4, right? And it scales accordingly.
Yeah, and it's kind of what Sharif was saying as well. It's like, how do you tell that story in VR? There's obviously a lot of characters in there, and there's a lot going on. So, yes, it does adapt to you, and how many people that you have, and how well you're doing, and whether you're shielding or not. But one of the main things, of course, is the replayability and going back through, because there is so much going on. One of the things that we wanted to give you in the end was this, amazing battle in the round, right, that you see from many of the Avengers movies, especially the first one. And, depending on which way you're firing and who's coming at you, you're going to see and assist and play with, various other Avengers there. So there's just so much to see, especially in the end battle, that, it can be different each time.
Yeah, there was a moment where I forget who it was. It might have been War Machine. Somebody was actually saying, like, "Come on, guys, you need to do a little bit better." It's not exactly what he said, but it was like, okay, yeah. And I'm like, I think he's talking to me, and the scoring at the end would indicate that.
So I guess going back to the technical aspects of it a little bit, how it plays out. Can you lose? Can you get to the end of this and they're like, "Yeah, sorry, you actually didn't save the world. It's over now. Good job, guys."
It was part of the conversation. Especially in the development process, we had a lot of conversations around. Well, it's not traditional game, right? It's not, I've got 9 lives or whatever. And games are different now, obviously, because, if you fall off the cliff in Uncharted, you come back and you get to try again. And same thing here, you come back and try again. And it was definitely part of that. What is the reaction we want people to have, right? And so looking at that, it was about giving you that sense of danger without, taking away the thing that you want to do, which is just assemble alongside the Avengers, right? So it's a balancing act, but it was a fun conversation to have in terms of how do you push that forward? How do you give people, especially in this new medium, the opportunity to do both, right? A little bit of that threat, but not taking away that world that they want to explore.
And that's also partly why there's the scoreboard at the end, right? So even though you may not fail and the world gets destroyed, which could be a bummer for people coming into their what might be their first VR experience, the scoreboard allows you to come in, compete against your friends, come back and try to do better.
I mean, I think what's interesting is it's really at the heart of kind of this new form of interactive storytelling, and VR is questions like that as far as what is the right answer for pure linear content versus failing through or actually failing and repeating. And it's something as developers we think about a lot. And I think when we're looking at Avengers Damage Control, we really, because it was such a carefully crafted story and there was a very specific kind of adventure that we wanted you to go on and was relying on so many of the characters to have these moments, we really looked at it as a way of how can we have agency and impact but keep the story and the plot progressing. And so there's a lot of things that happen that if you don't do power up the flight systems, like it's a different kind of dynamic than when you do successfully do all of it. And there are ways that you can continue to go through. It's like if you don't shoot the enemies when you're in the flight paths, like some of the Avengers might help you out and maybe might have a little snarky response for you. But so there's clever ways that we try to push the story forward, but keeping in mind like this is a new medium and we do really want to tell a linear story that people can comprehend and is familiar, especially for traditional audiences. It's really great to we just experimented and kind of wanted to go through in that linear progression.
I like that too, and I like that you have the replayability. It's definitely there because now I want to come back through and beat Zach's score because I just need to because I'm competitive like that. I'm like, oh, you got 6 more than me? Okay, cool. But as far as because this is a huge project. This is a giant undertaking, and it turned out so well. How long did it take you from start to finish through the whole process, and sort of what did that look like?
Well, we started, it was close to 2 years ago about, when we're really talking about just whiteboard, idea on paper, but really in earnest about 1.5 years of development when, we really kicked that process off and it's just been, an awesome ride all the way through.
That's so fun.
I think the fun part of that though is especially in this medium, we've had the conversation of, well, when people come back, how can we update it? How can we, because we have that ability and that's the fun part, right? You can write new scenes, you can shoot new stuff, and then you can just literally write the code and patch it in. And people can come back and it's there and it's waiting for them. So
the beauty of real time.
Yeah. and so it is about that continual conversation and a new form of storytelling. So that's the fun of it, that replayability becomes a completely different conversation in this medium. You can do whatever you want as long as you have the time and money to put it in there. So for the fans, I think it's going to open a whole new door of exploring that universe and that portal that Doctor Strange opens and where he sends you. Well, we could change that portal, could take you anywhere, right? And so that was the fun part of that conversation too. Is we can open portals. We can send you wherever we want. And trust me, there were some things on the whiteboard that were like, okay, let's send them there. And like anything else, like I said, it's part of a normal development process where you're like, okay, this doesn't work in the story anymore. Let's take it out. And there were parts of this that became very close to being like, nope. And then you just tweak it a little bit, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, it works now, right? So that's the fun of this medium, I think, and for us, and this being a new thing to play with, is you get to have that conversation for a lot longer.
and also it's about, like everyone was saying earlier, it's really about balancing the gameplay aspects with the storytelling aspects with, one of the things that we really wanted to do is also not just have it be firing all the way through, but you have to solve some puzzles. Like you've got to get the ship started, you've got to dock it up to the helicarrier, all those various things. So, it's how you balance all those elements through, and there's lots of room for experimentation, going forward with, other projects or version 2 or, add-ons that could go anywhere.
All right, that's so exciting. Does that mean that we might get to see new stories and expansions, so to speak? Well, we might get to play again with something different?
Well, like everyone was saying, portals can take you anywhere. It's the thing. Everything is possible. I mean, we're just looking at a lot of different options, and there's anything that can be done in technology is it's possible to do, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, I think as a Marvel fan, and I think for Marvel fans, that's the fun, right? The universe is getting bigger every day, and there's plenty of room to grow. So where can we go? The answer is anywhere, but it's just about what is the story and what is the meaningful way and reason to do it, right? And so that's always the way we want to approach it is let's do it for a reason. Let's put the right characters in there. Let's have fun with it. But, like we were saying, portals can take you anywhere. So now in virtual reality, they literally can take you anywhere. So it's a pretty fun, like, brainstorming exercise.
Oh, that's exciting. Well, thank you guys so much for talking with us. That's exciting. I actually can't wait to come back and do this again.
Well, I guess my question is, obviously Marvel is a massive beast at this point, 23 films in, using the movie world, the MCU. Was there concern given at all to like canon or anything, or are you sort of like, we'll just stay close and then veer off? Or should fans consider this canon?
The answer to that is one that when we started the development process on it, it's about looking at 10 years of Marvel Studios stories and films and characters and character moments, and giving people the opportunity to step into that, experience it their own way. If you look around the room, and obviously you guys went through the experience, there's a lot of that nostalgia. There's a lot of new stuff, right? We approach it the same way we approach everything at the studio, which is it went through our development process. We have our talent involved, and we want to give people the opportunity to say, instead of looking at the timeline or the MCU or the adventure or whatever it is, instead of looking at it from out here, I get to step into it now. So, on October 18th, when this comes out, it's not, hey, let's go watch it. It's let's go be a part of it. So it's a different conversation. And when we're looking at telling stories in new ways, and this for us was totally new, it was giving people that opportunity, and that was really the focus. So in terms of where does it live, it's part of our development process. It's got our talent. It's got all of the filmmakers that work on all of the films and the creatives and everyone, and obviously working with ILMxLAB. It's the same way we approach everything else.
I would just add to it's like we have to say it's about the wish fulfillment, right? Like who you want to fight alongside, and how do you want to see them? Like the Hulk is. We get a Bruce Banner Hulk, but you really want to see Hulk at his hulkiest, right? Coming in and smashing and crashing and bruising through like he does. So it's often how do you want to see them? So it's classic elements of the Marvel Universe in the timeline after Endgame.